Hey, this is Rick Kasalj from exercisesforinjuries.com. Today, I have another video for you, and with this one, I'm doing an interview. I'm doing an interview with Zack, and I'll get Zack to introduce himself and share a bit of his unique fat loss story.
Hey, I'm Zack from dailynutritionhq.com, and I guess with any nutrition and health story, it starts off with me being younger and fatter, basically. But for my story specifically, it was a little bit more than that. It wasn't just that I was, 20 to 30 pounds overweight when I was, 10 years younger. It was that I had horrible eczema, terrible asthma, and it really, what it sums up to, it's kind of a suffocating frustration that I wasn't able to really interact as well with other people because I was so kind of trapped in my own body with all these health issues. And so eventually I discovered people who were exercising and working out and discovered this whole world of nutrition and better performance and better health. And I dipped my toe in it. I went too hard working out and I got really sore, so I took a step back. But eventually it was something that I fell back into, and when my friends convinced me to sign up and join the track team at school. So I went into that, and it was a trial and error at first. I really didn't know anything. And of course, like most people, I went looking on the internet for solutions on how to exercise better or lose weight faster, which slowed me down a lot and confused the heck out of me and didn't work at all. So from then, it was kind of a lot of trial and error and testing and tweaking and lots and lots and lots of these fad diets over the past almost a dozen years at this point, where I would go on a fad diet or try some crazy exercise routine, and either I'd lose some weight and then gain a lot back after, or I'd try a new exercise routine and 2 weeks into it I'd be so sore, I'd be skipping workouts to nap and overeating and all this stuff. But eventually I kind of reached this point where I couldn't learn any more stuff. I just stuck with the basics, and it was kind of like that scene with Iron Man in his cave, that he shut everything out and he just tinkered and worked with whatever he had in front of him, and he came up with something that works. And so I found it to work. It worked on myself. And then, of course, my friends were asking me, what happened? You changed, like you've gotten, a lot more muscular, but also leaner. Like, how does that happen? And so I started teaching them and coaching them on how I did this, and it kind of spread from there that their friends wanted to know, other people kept asking me, and now I've jumped into this online business, spreading what I call practical nutrition and helping people lose weight and not their mind in the process.
That's awesome. I like that last little bit. To lose their weight and not lose their mind. That's great. That's great. Now, so before we got on the call, we got talking about your approach, and you were saying there's kind of like three, prongs or three pillars to your approach, and you explained them to me a little bit, and I thought they were really unique and interesting. So maybe you can kind of explain how your approach is like different than all that other stuff that you tried, the crazy workouts and the crazy restrictive diets, and etc.
Oh yeah, definitely. So first things first, I start off, I guess the three pillars are going to be plant-based nutrition, emotional intelligence, and then something I call habit force. And plant-based nutrition it's not about going vegan or some crazy restrictive diet. It's not about that. It's more about lowering the ratio of animal products to plant products, because people just get way too many of these conventional animal products, too much of this milk and all of that stuff, which is, it's kind of overly hyped in the marketing, especially in the U.S. I mean, there's crazy figures here that I don't know, like 98% of Americans don't eat at least like two vegetables throughout a week. And I know some pretty healthy people that eat a lot of vegetables, so that means there's a lot of people like eating none. It's crazy to think about. And the reason why adopting and hiding more vegetables in your diet is great is because no one looks at this part of nutrition, but it's really looking at how many calories you can get for a certain amount of like mass of food. So here's a great way of thinking of it. If you have 2,000 calories to eat in a day, it's kind of like a budget of spending $2,000 every day. Now, if you had 2,000 calories of like Big Macs or some kind of hamburger, that would be three, maybe four hamburgers. You could, if you're really dedicated, you could eat that in a sitting for lunch, and then maybe 5 or 6 hours, still be hungry to eat dinner. It and you get a ton of calories. You'd overeat a lot. Now, if you take something more on the plant-based side, which is like broccoli with black beans and sweet potatoes, not just eating salads all day too, but eating more of these starches and beans that can really fill you up too. If you eat 2,000 calories of those in a sitting, it's going to be a huge amount of food. You might not be able to finish all of that, and it's going to make you. It's going to really fill you up and have a lot more water, fiber, and nutrients that contribute to filling you up. Because the research indicates that people typically eat about 2.5 to 4.1 pounds of food in a day. Your stretch receptors in your stomach are more of the key player in satiety and telling you when you're done eating than nutrient receptors or like fat receptors in your stomach that would say, if you ate a stick of butter, that's a lot of calories in this much space. You would still feel hungry. You'd still feel that you have more room in your stomach, and so you would still get hunger signals.
Okay. Okay. And so then you recommend for people to try to increase their plant-based intake and decrease their meat-based intake. Now, maybe you can give us an example, like what would you suggest to someone, going with whatever traditionally they eat? What are some ways that they can end up kind of tweaking that plant-based, intake ratio?
Sure. Yeah, this is one of my favorite studies I read when I was writing up my book and stuff. But these researchers found that they put all these clandestine or hidden vegetables in just common comfort foods for the subject of the study. And they had it was like 360 calorie deficit a day for the people who ate all the food with the hidden vegetables in it. So I think that's the great approach. So you could still have, I like to meet people where they're at. So if you're having pizza and burgers and stuff like that, and you want to lose weight, but you are having trouble cutting out your favorite foods, a really great first step is taking your burgers and pizza and all that stuff and, cutting down on like meat toppings. So don't add bacon onto the burger. Instead, you could add, caramelized onions, sauteed mushrooms, even sneak in a few extra layers of spinach. And that at first will get you moving in the right direction. And if you do this 3 times a day, you'll get 3 more servings of vegetables in a day, and it'll add up with all the water, fiber, and plant-specific nutrients to really help fill you up and get you more satiated so you eat slightly less.
Okay. And then, so with this, increasing your plant-based intake ratio, is this part of, so I was reading your book, the Master Keys to Permanent Fat Loss, And so is this plant-based, increasing your plant-based intake ratio, is this part of your practical nutrition concept in the book?
Yeah, so the Master Keys to Permanent Fat Loss is based all about getting in more plant-based nutrition.
Uh-huh.
That's because when you switch over to eating more of these plant-based foods, and it's a little bit more than that, because in the book I have basically 5 of these master keys that focus on how to change your lifestyle and use habits, how to think differently about food, how to cook, shop, and also save time to make fat loss really a simple part of your life, something that you could do in a few minutes each and every day to set yourself up. And having a plant-based diet is really at the core of having this shift in fat loss, because it's what's going to create the deficit in calories without you having to diet or deprive yourself and go to bed hungry and hope to wake up a little bit leaner.